Alright, hey guys, welcome back to week 10 of the Trading Combine series. I took more trades this week finally, so some good, some bad, but I did learn a lot from them. And I feel like I'm learning a lot each week, which is really good. It just means I'm developing further and possibly getting closer to being profitable. And just doing more stuff like journaling and reading, which helps me digest my thoughts, and then I figured it's helping me a lot throughout the week. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. Alright, so what I was seeing today was that there was a massive move down throughout the entire day, and I was thinking that price could look to recover and fill in those imbalances that were formed from the drop. And there were some high time frame inverse fair value gaps like this 1 hour one and this 15-minute inverse fair value gap. There was also an overlap of a 4-hour inverse fair value gap and fair value gap which hadn't been tapped into yet, which could be used as another confluence for this trade. On the low time frame there was a 5-minute order block which overlapped with a 15-minute inverse fair value gap and 1 hour inverse fair value gap, so that was a potential area which I could expect an entry. And right now it's just mainly just waiting to see what could happen and see what price wants to do, especially with the confluences I listed out. If it were to be bullish though, I would wait for confirmation because it's a good habit to get used to, and because trading with an expectation for a reversal is pretty risky. Price was creating LRLs to the buy side while currently moving down, so things were looking pretty nice for a setup into longs. Market open and price actually ripped up quite heavily, and price was actually moving to my TP, so I was thinking that there may be a potential for a reversal, just letting the thought flow through my mind, because sending them out would be fruitless if I didn't have confirmation. But I felt like keeping it in mind would be a good idea. Price came up and swept out the London high after a bit, so I wanted to see if it respected the bullish confluences and continued higher to the high time frame imbalances, or disrespected and wanted to start seeing the reversal. I placed an entry for continuation with the target to the high time frame imbalance overlaps, and my thoughts were that if price continued to respect these low time frame order blocks, price could continue hitting up, and the continuation entry would allow me to get a little piece of that pie. And so my entry ended up getting licked and I was in. I entered with 2 cons this time, since that's the only amount I could risk to get my around $150 risk. So my trade was actually around $140 risk. And I was on my bed reading at this time while the trade played out, since I really didn't have the mental capital to just keep staring at the screen, so I decided to just take a break. But unfortunately I entered at the top of the reversal, so I ended up just being stopped out for a loss of 140. And I think that what I got wrong today was that I tried to hop in too late, and that the continuation entry should have been higher to account for spread. The bullish move had already occurred from the massive move up earlier, and what I was trying to trade was at the very end of that move, which isn't great. And I thought that the trade would have been good since it was respecting the confluences I laid out, and it continued higher. Though this was just more justification looking back, so like cope. For an A+ setup I would need high time frame confluences plus low time frame confluences and a clear target, but during the session it was unclear which was which. And after reviewing this trade I should have been more patient and more picky with this trade, especially since I was seeing the conditions for the trade weren't as great as I would have liked, and my mental wasn't really that great during this trade either, so that would have been another reason to be picky. But yeah, we live and we learn. Alright, so right now I have no clue what's happening with price. Price was within an accumulation range, but it broke out from market open, sitting on London and Asia low. And price is also currently respecting bearish confluences like this 4-hour fair value gap and 1-hour fair value gap, so bearish was the current market sentiment. Though I didn't really want to take a bearish trade, since 1, price had already swept out a bunch of sell-side liquidity, and 2, because I don't want to chase into a trade like yesterday again. So this time I was going to wait for confirmation, a disrespect of bearish confluences into a bullish trend, or a respect of the imbalances to push lower. Leaning more for bullish though, since that'll be a more A+ setup, and I was just looking at the charts and I was mainly looking for the disrespect of the 5-minute fair value gaps, since that would be a pretty strong confluence for longs. There are 2 fair value gaps and the lower one was disrespected, forming an inverse fair value gap, but I was waiting for the second fair value gap to be disrespected too. There didn't seem to be too much selling pressure though, so if the fair value gap was disrespected as well, then that would be confirmation for me to go longs. When the candle formed, the second 5-minute fair value gap was disrespected, forming the bullish bias, and I kept looking to enter at this 5-minute BPR where the lower 5-minute inverse fair value gap was, since it was still untapped, and price kept hitting up with strong bullish power. And it didn't seem like it was going to come down all the way to my entry, and this is where I was thinking if I was missing something, because I have been in similar situations in the past or missed out on something important in the moment which would have defined a trade. And I was right, I was too unconfident today, and since I wasn't willing to take the trade, and I should have known that price used the 5-minute inverse fair value gap already on the 1-minute time frame, but since I didn't, I missed out on entry. I don't want to just jump into a trade either, because that would be FOMO and would go against my plan, so I decided to just hold on for today. It's just a shame that I missed out on such a good trade today, but it's alright. My reading was right, so that means I can do the shit right. I just have more areas to develop, and these constant nights will help me understand which parts I'm lacking in. So today what I was thinking was for shorts, since price was accumulating quite a bit on a steady uptrend, creating a bunch of low resistance liquidity to the south side, which would have been a pretty strong target. On a high time frame, price was respecting this 4-hour fair value gap, and there was another 4-hour fair value gap below which we could use as a target. There was a 1-hour fair value gap which price was currently making its way through, so I figured I could enter off of the retest into the fair value gap and target the London low and lower liquidity or imbalances. The only thing I'm unsure about is this 1-hour fair value gap, because I'm not sure if I would consider that candle formation as a break or a disrespect. So I ended up missing today's trade. It was a really nice short, and looking back it was a really clean trade. There was high time context backing up, and technically price had already disrespected the 1-hour fair value gap which I was waiting for candle confirmation for, but it's the same concept as the 5-minute fair value gap being tapped into and disrespected already on the 1 minute. It was within my trading time too, so I really should have just taken the trade. I think it's more of a lack of confidence and my ego getting in the way where I don't want to be wrong, but journaling this down I figured I should just enter anyways. It's okay to get things wrong, and that just means I have more to learn, which is also a good thing. I reckon I could look for more trades during pre-market to market open, since that's where the moves usually happen, and after that volume really dies out. This is something that I've noticed recently, and I'll most likely do this more often since it'll provide me more time to journal and rest instead of staring at a slow moving chart. Alright, so overall thoughts for today was that price was going to move bullish. I did hop on a bit earlier in the day, and it seemed like it was a bullish trend, with the current move being the start of a bearish retrace. And looking at price now, the retrace has already occurred, so now it's just waiting for some bullish structure. And I ended up placing an entry into a trade at the 5-minute plus 3-minute order block overlap. This area I felt would most likely be tapped into because it was a key zone within the 15-minute order block, which still hadn't been tapped into yet. Because of that, I placed my entry there. Honestly, placing my entry this way felt a lot more like how I traded on my paper account, which was pretty cool. I like the mental and the psyche that I had during the paper trade account, and bring that over to the funded would be pretty good. My entry ended up getting hit, and I was immediately in drawdown, and I was thinking that I was going to get stopped out here since prices came down so heavily. I even went to bed and started reading because I don't want to be mentally bonded to the trade. The price ended up coming up and hitting my partial that I placed. Since I was still in my bed at this time, I didn't move my stop loss to break even, so that's unlucky, but still a very nice trade nonetheless. And I reckon I could try in the future is trading with a smaller RR, so like today where my partial was. So I could have instead taken full profit because I feel like a lot of the time I can't really get the most amazing stop loss placements since my risk is too small, so I ended up getting seek and destroyed. But if I take full profit there, then I can avoid seek and destroy and still take home a dub, and it will be quicker as well. So yeah, I'll be giving that a shot tomorrow. And another thing is just I started thinking differently in terms of money. My funded account technically still isn't real money, so I can still treat it as a paper account where I'm learning instead of trying to make money all the time. That mentality really helped me out today and worked out pretty nicely, so I ended off today with a profit of $150. Alright, so looking at price action, price just tapped into the 4-hour gap that was within the 4-hour fair value gap, and this was a key area that was looked into throughout the week as a target, and I'm thinking that price could reverse after tapping into this imbalance. I saw that volume was dying out quite a bit currently, and it was even hitting a bit bearish. Price even came down and swept out some sell-side liquidity, so I figured it could be moving in a bearish trend and it would look to retrace before hitting down. So I ended up entering over the 5-minute bearish fair value gap respect. There was some pretty strong selling response from the tap, which made me decide to enter into shorts because I really thought that price could come down and sweep out London low, but market open volatility came up and stopped me out for a loss of 150. I was aiming to take a smaller RR trade, which I did, but honestly my analysis today was really shit and I didn't give myself enough time like the other day, so today's read turned out to be wrong. It's alright there, but not learning much today, but just more of reminders of what could happen if I don't give the market my patience and don't set up properly. A quote I recently saw was, "Predicting rain doesn't deserve merit, but building arcs does." And I'm talking about this quote more in the latter part of it. I can say it's alright all I want, but I have to actually put in some actions to stop myself from falling into these bad habits again. And I do think ego may have played a part in today's trade, since I did win yesterday's trade, thinking I knew how price could act in a way. I do think that acting without hesitation was good, but I didn't have a good setup or pre-market today because I didn't analyze for that long. So acting without hesitation was actually a hindrance for me today. Alright, so this week was quite the week, you know. I learned quite a bit from just taking so many trades, like acting without hesitation, taking smaller RR trades, journaling before trading, and being more confident and trusting my intuition. All these things were underdeveloped before in my opinion, and working on them this week has made me see a new path that I can continue developing on, basically finding more direction and more clarity on how I can achieve these things. And gotta remember to stay vulnerable enough to learn more, always have a curious mindset to learn what I can improve on. I think it's called detached curiosity from the book I'm reading, where you exercise being open and available to learn from others with a strong eagerness. And I'm gonna journal more this week to prepare myself more for the next trading week, so next week I can come back even stronger. But yeah, I'll just keep this ending brief, so yeah, that's pretty much all I learned this week. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.